Hello friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running Tales of the Valiant in Midgard in a campaign called Scourge of the Dragon Empire. This show is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of awesome tips, tricks, tools, adventures, scenarios, all kinds of great stuff you get for being a patron of Sly Flourish. You get access to our awesome Lazy GM community over on Discord, and you help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. Hey, if you happen to be going to Gen Con 2025, if you're watching this video on Friday or listening to the podcast on Friday and you happened to be at Gen Con, you can pick up Sly Flourish books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, The Lazy DM's Companion, and City of Arches, signed by me at Gen Con booth 150. I will not be there, but my friend Joe from Inkwell Ideas will be there. Inkwell Ideas is the booth at Gen Con at booth 150. It's on the left side wall if you're coming in from the main entrance. He is also going to be showing off and have available for sale the Hexploration Kit. The Hexploration Kit is a set of decks of exploration cards with lots of great artwork and prompts and hex tiles, individual hex tiles. They're wet and dry erasable with a bunch of static cling details that you can put on there to build a cool overland area and get ideas for running your game. Very cool product. But also you can pick up my books, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, City of Arches, and The Lazy DM's Companion, signed by me at Gen Con booth 150, the Inkwell Ideas booth. Tell them that Sly Flourish sent you. So last week, the whole current situation in my game is that the characters have been making their way to an area called the Colosseum of the Red Sun. This is like an adventure prompt that I sort of randomly generated, a few months ago, and they finally we're going to go there. And they are going to go there to acquire a helm of teleportation. They have learned that there is a helm of teleportation stashed somewhere beneath the Colosseum of the Red Sun. So they went to the Colosseum. They got attacked they ran into a dragon and some followers who were from one of the other Morza, one of the other dragon lords that had kind of gone into the territory of Adisha, which is kind of interesting on its own. That their dragons themselves are sort of sending spies in to other dragon empires to kind of see what's going on. And so they defeated them. They got to the town where the Colosseum is. The town is called Coppervein. It was a former goblin mining town that had been destroyed when the Dragon Empire took over, and then was left because weird aberrant creatures, a meteor struck and weird aberrant creatures had started growing out of the town. So the Dragon Empire left it alone. But then the Dragon Empire came back. Adisha sent a scout, a treasure hunter who was a mage with another dragon follower of Adisha, a blue dragon, who was like one of his treasure seekers, named Darkstar. Darkstar, the characters decided rather than keep the Dragon Empire at their back while they explored, they were going to take care of them. So they went to the watchtower that the Dragon Empire, that this group, Darkstar and his cronies, were using, and attacked them directly. Snuck in through the bottom and then had a big fight, killed Darkstar, killed the mage, basically wiped out, saved a bunch of thralls who were, a bunch of conscripts who were being sent in to their death in the arena itself, or in the city and everything themselves, and then defeated the dragon. So, and then learned a little bit more about what was going on here and some strange things. They found some strange alien creatures here, which are called satyr. They actually have the pronunciation. Let me make sure I'm getting the pronunciation right, because they actually list them I think they're under humanoid, although they're really, I'm referring to them as like alien. They're almost like alien entities. They're called satyr. Let's see. Satyr, right? Satyr is how they're pronounced, satyr. So, and the satyr are sort of like kind of insectoid, kind of lizard-like humanoids. And I decided they're world enders. They have this kind of, they kind of have this whole thing going on here. And so I have a sort of ecology of what goes on here, which is that there are these like fungal diseases that you can catch or breathe in or inhale, and they get inside you and disease you. And then you kind of turn into thralls of this creature called Din, and which is actually a sand aboleth. It's like I'm using the aboleth, but it's kind of a reskinned aboleth, which is like the super ancient alien entity. And so you become a thrall of them, and then some of them kind of explode out and become these giant, weird flying alien thing. And the flying alien things fly around and eat people, and most of them die off, but some of them grow arms and legs, sort of like tadpoles. They're like flying, humanoid eating tadpoles. And then some, most like actual tadpoles, most of the tadpoles die, but some of them grow arms and legs and then gain a sort of sentience and independence and become satyr. And the characters learned of these satyrs. They saw a dead one that the Dragon Empire had dissected to try to figure out what the hell they were. And then they went in and actually faced a couple of them. I had a kind of a fun encounter where they ran into some explorers that had not been corrupted, who were attacked by other explorers who had succumbed to this disease, and one of which was like a huge ogre. They killed them all. The ogre exploded, and when the ogre exploded, it turned into these swarms of these things that the characters then fought off. And then while they were busy fighting those, then a couple of actually satyr showed up who were watching the process, and they killed the satyr. So it was like a 3-wave battle. It wasn't particularly hard, it wasn't super challenging, but it gave them like an idea of like, oh, so this is sort of like the ecology of how this stuff sort of goes on. So then the characters were making their way through Coppervein and came around to the arena, and then the floor, the ground collapsed. And when it did, a big alien worm attacked one of the characters. And that is our strong start today. So we have a nice, good, strong start of being attacked by an alien, one of the characters being attacked by an alien worm. I'm going to jump over to our Obsidian today. We're going to have a new, campaigns, Dragon Empire, session notes, and I'm going to create a new note from template. And that is the Dragon Empire template. So we have that today. Today, Emmert is not going to be able to make it, but I believe everyone else is. All of the other 6 players are going to be there today. So just to get it down, I'm going to put our strong start, which is, and I forget, let's see, what I should do is have the previous notes in another window. I am using Obsidian to do my game prep today. And if you are interested in learning more about Obsidian, you can find a link to my article talking about using Obsidian for game prep in the show notes. So monsters, so insatiable broods were the flying thing. So I like this list a lot. It's really useful. So I'm going to drop it right back into my current notes. More useful would be if it actually had page numbers for these guys, but it's easy enough to look up alphabetically, so I'm not too worried about it. But so I think it's a Mortovermis is the name of the worm thing. Yeah, so how's that for an alien worm that's going to eat you? They are CR3s, so they're not particularly hard. So they're facing one. They should probably, with 6 characters, they should face at least 2 of these things. And it wouldn't be out of hand for them to face 3 of them. But 3 of them, you don't want to, the characters haven't even gotten into the place that they're going. I don't know that I want to throw a fight at them so hard that they are draining a lot of their existing resources, and they're like, oh, we have to take a rest even before we go in, right? You don't want to throw a strong start battle so hard that they immediately have to rest afterwards. So I think we're going to go with just 2. Whoops. Those are the Mortovermis. If you want to see the Morto, let's take a look at the Mortovermis. And let's actually look at the stat block a little bit. Let's do a little homework. So that's a Mortovermis, right? Nice, fun alien creature. This is in the Monster Vault, the Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault. Tube feeders, brown wrinkled hide, long body resembles a worm ending in a mouth surrounded by 4 fangs. A single golden eye rests in the middle. I love the eye. Its powerful gaze can leave prey transfixed as it slithers closer, and its tail ends in a barbed stinger. This thing's got everything to kill transfixed prey. On the underside are dozens of retractable, segmented, hollow tubes, each tipped with a gnawing, envenomed teeth. Their toxin liquefies flesh, which is the Mortovermis slurps up through the tubes after wrapping around its prey. Very cool. Squeezing layers. Mortovermis commonly inhabit old ruins or underground caves. They prefer layers that are accessible only by squeezing through small openings, making the resting area easy to defend. Because of this, they consume their meals away from the lair in return. Planier exiles. Mortovermis fled some great conflict on their homeworld. So that gives them some idea of intelligence. Now, they only have an intelligence -2. And have wandered through the world since. On most of their worlds, they have flourished, delighting in easy prey and the myriad of hiding spaces in mortal realms. Few living Mortovermis still remember their ancient home, and fewer still care to return to it. They are CR3s, 72 hit points, AC 13. They can hover. They have a fly speed. These worms can fly. That's weird. They are relatively perceptive. They have aberrant resilience. That's interesting. They speak deep speech and telepathy, so they can send things in. It's resistant to the charm, frightened, paralyzed, and stunned conditions. Advantage on saves against spells or effects that would alter its form. Sinuous, it can easily move through any opening large enough for a small creature. It can squeeze through any opening, blah, blah, blah. Sunlight sensitivity. While in the sunlight, the Mortivermis has disadvantage on attack rolls. I think we're going to not do that because I think it's not in sun. They're in sunlight right now, and I get to reskin them however I want. So there. Mortivermis makes 2 sting attacks. If both stings hit one large or smaller creature, the Mortivermis can use Consume on the creature without the need for the target to be incapacitated. Sting is +5 to hit for 7 damage. That is 14 damage at CR3, a little bit low. Consume, the Mortivermis wraps around its incapacitated creature. Target must make a DC 13 strength save. On a failure, it takes 5 piercing damage and 9 acid damage and is grappled. On a success, the target takes half the damage and isn't grappled. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained and takes 18 acid damage at the start of each of its turns, and the Mortivermis can't use Consume. Transfixing Gaze. The Mortivermis focuses its gaze on one creature it can see within 30 feet. Target makes a DC 13 Wisdom save or be charmed until the end of turn. While charmed, the creature is incapacitated. It has a speed of 0. That's a bonus action for it to do that until the end of the next turn. Yeah, so pretty powerful. So I think we're only going to drop a couple of these, I think. So strong start is 2 Mortivermis, and we'll be kind to our future selves and put the page number down. Page number is 257. Attack, one of whom is wrapped around Tolstoy. The player of Tolstoy is a good egg and will be okay with the fact that he gets wrapped up. So that is our strong start. So going to the characters, going back up to the characters, and think about what, given what's going on in the current situation, what information might tie the characters to the game? And are there any other elements of the characters that we want to look at? Let's actually look at our character listing here. I think I updated it with some stuff recently. Let's go to our notes here. So I have my characters. I have one page that's just for character information, and it's 7th level. So small gnome ranger, nomadic outcast. At 7th level, gave him to +2 dex and is looking for any kind of magic armor. Kalendra is an elf druid cottage homesteader, and what is looking for druidy magic items, store spells or restore save spell DCs and stuff like that. Amavin, did they get to 8th level? I don't think they're 8th level. I think they're just 7th level. No, maybe they did they get to 8th level? Yeah, they did. They got to 8th level. And some of the characters weren't there. So they are 8th level now. But I don't necessarily know what everybody's got. Amavin, most of them took ability bumps. I think they weren't aware of the fact that if you take a talent, you get an ability bump. You get 1 point ability bump, but I don't think it changed their minds too much. I think they did it anyway. One thing I was worried about, which so far, my experience is that it hasn't made a big difference, is that I was worried players would avoid taking the ability score increase over a talent or a feat, because now talents and feats in the more modern versions of 5e always include an ability bump in it. They include a 1 point ability bump. And the optimal choice is to always take a feat now, because you're getting the equivalent of like 3 feats for 2, right? You get like a 3 for 2. They're like 150% more effective, but they're not more effective right away. So what ends up happening is if you're going to take, so it makes sense that when you first get the option for a feat or a talent, you likely have an odd score, and you might have an odd score in your primary ability. So then getting a talent that gives a +1 bonus, and now it's an even score that's 1 up, and then you get that bonus and you get the talent. That makes a lot of sense for 4th level. But a lot of times at 8th level, people just would rather have the score anyway, because it can take their primary up a whole other point, and they'll skip taking an ability feat. Then at 12, I don't know what they'll do at 12. But anyway, it looked like most of the players chose the ability bump. But I'm not sure that all of them recognized the fact that if you take a talent, you get an ability bump as well. Not 2 points. You only get 1 point. And I think that meant people didn't do it. But anyway, I thought that was going to be a bigger deal than it was. And so far it hasn't proven to be like, oh, these characters are so much more powerful than D&D 2014 characters were. I still contend, having now experienced a fair number of games, both playing and running, with D&D 2024 and Tales of the Valiant, which are like the two newer versions of 5e, that the power of the characters with those two systems, Tales of the Valiant and 2024 D&D, are not any higher. They're not perceptibly higher for me as a GM any more than characters who were choosing class options from things like Tasha's and Xanathars and stuff like that. They're definitely more powerful. Like, obviously, if you were playing 2014 D&D and you didn't have feats as an option, those characters would be significantly, I think, would be noticeably less powerful than characters that are from 2024 D&D or Tales of the Valiant that do have feats and talents, which are no longer optional, right? But and maybe they're more powerful, but there were some busted feats in 2014 D&D that a lot of people took. Power attack was, or what, Great Weapon Master was really good. Sharpshooter was really good. There were a lot of really good feats that they've toned down. And 2024 D&D, so 2024 D&D and Tales of the Valiant, especially once you start including Tasha's and Xanathar stuff in there, I think they feel pretty much the same, right? Like, I don't think there was a big power jump between like a Tasha/Xanathar 2014 character and a 2024 vanilla character. You know, I don't feel like there's a big power difference. That's my experience so far, having run now 8 levels of Tales of the Valiant, and I've run a bunch of levels, including up to deep tier 3 with 2024 characters, and I haven't seen a massive power increase. So Kalindra, I don't know what Kalindra got at 8th level, so I'll have to ask. And they're looking for druidy magic items or store spells, ways to spell or restore spells. I think they got one the other day, but I don't think she was there for it. Amavin is our elf rogue cosmopolitan criminal. Has some magic items now. Has dex. Would love some goggles of night or a magic crossbow. They got dancing lockpicks, something that they wanted. Rowan is our dwarf fighter. Everybody wants better armor, right? And you remember, I wrote a thing about, like, you know, you're not getting it. At 8th level, took con, and now has a magic battle axe, so is well armed, but is looking for better armor. But I don't know that they're going to get better armor. Mateo Castillo Grigo. Mateo loves the shards and wants armor shard. Like, see, everybody wants armor, right? Everyone wants defense. No, you're not getting defense. At 8th level, took a level of fighter and has powered and wants more augments. I think it'd be cool. I think a piece of fun treasure might be a psychic augment, right? The eye. If the eye of you know, one of the villain, if the eye of the Sand Aboleth could be used as sort of a psychic thing, that might be kind of a fun shard that Mateo could add to his arsenal. Tolstoy, Beastkin Rat Outcast, who now has a 20 intelligence. Wish list is a wand of magic missiles. That could be fun. And Emmert is not in our game today, so we will ponder when Emmert is there. So one thing I'm thinking about for treasure, so a wand would be cool. Like a general wand would be kind of cool. I don't know which one. And a psychic shard would be kind of fun. And a psychic shard could do what? +1 to attack and damage. Can do, you know, you could probably activate it for 1 minute, where it does an additional +1d6 psychic damage. This one's a little dangerous because Mateo makes 4 attacks around and now took fighter, so now gets even more. I think, as soon as he gets a 2nd level fighter, he can do action surge and can make 6 attacks in a single turn. And if every one of those is doing an extra d6 psychic damage, that's a lot. It's not crazy overpowered because his secondary attacks don't add like ability bonuses to them and stuff. So I don't know that it's too out of hand. And boy, Tales of the Valiant monsters have a lot of hit points, so I don't think that's a big deal. What's another interesting psychic thing that this could do? So this is kind of a tier, they're early tier 2. It could do like a psychic blast. Well, let's look, like, what does an aboleth do? It'd be kind of fun to like figure out, is there an abolithic thing? So we're going to look at aboleths here real quick. Oh, well, ability to have some telepathy, which would be cool. So aboleth, probing telepathy, slime pox. Psychic bolt does psychic damage. Psychic torrent floods the minds of up to 3 creatures you can see within 60 feet with random horrific memories of eons long life. Each target must make a DC 16 wisdom save on a failure to take 49 psychic damage. Wow. And the target is incapacitated until the end of the next turn as it reels. I think giving it the equivalent of like a daily, let's see, so it'd be a cone. We'll do a 30-foot cone. DC 15, wisdom. I'm pretty sure that's got to be wisdom. Yeah, DC, that does 16. We're going to do DC 16. And how much damage do we want it to do? It could do, if we want it fireball sized, it would be 8d6. That's a lot. I think we're going to do 66 psychic. Is there a kicker on this? 49 say incapacitated to the end of its next turn as its mind reels. We're not going to do incapacitated. You could have those who fail, you have advantage on attacks until the end of the next turn. That's strong. I think we're just going to do the psychic damage. I don't think, because it's a cone and it could hit a lot of creatures, I don't think we're going to add a psychic kicker onto this. It's a pretty good shard as is. Like that's like a good rare item, even though it's only +1 to attack and damage. He's +10 to hit, so like that's not a big deal. Anyway, that's a good thing for the boss to have, I think, based on looking at the characters. So let's think about like what other ways to tie the character. We did like a review of the characters. We don't necessarily have to like, do too much looking at each character to make sure they're tied in, but it can't hurt to go through the characters. So Amavin is our rogue. Is there anything that our rogue would know about this place? Like understands the mechanism. Well, so actually understands the mechanisms of the Colosseum. That's actually good for Mateo. All right, that Mateo can kind of see how this place used to operate. So what can Amavin the rogue recognize of this place? Recognizes the goblin construction. Find goblin construction. Gaudenzia and Cal. Denzia is the ranger, sees the tracks of explorers coming in and out and changing. Cal feels the otherworldly nature of the chambers. Rowan is the fighter, imagines the battles that took place in the arena. Tolstoy can hear the voice of Din. So that, I think these are the good secrets that we've got. These are the good secrets that we've got that are connection points, right? Connection points between the characters and what's going on. So now we have scenes. So I know what the start is, and I know that we're going to have a confrontation with Din. And Din is the aboleth on page 49. So what kind of things, one of the things, I'm going to talk about it on the talk show later today, which is, if you're listening to the podcast I described on Monday, or listening or watching the YouTube video, same thing, which is 5 scenes. The concept that like when you're sitting right down to make your game, if you can come up with 5 scenes, you're probably good. Now that given the amount of time that a scene takes, which is roughly 45 minutes per scene, again, some are smaller, some are shorter, some are longer. If you have 5 scenes and you fill them out with enough information to make them useful, that's a good start. Now in a dungeon, it's a little different, right? In a dungeon, you don't know exactly which scenes you're going to have. So they're coming in. I did confirm with my friends that they are coming in through the trap rooms. So I think I'm going to drop them in this center room right there. So one of the scenes, the center lower room. So one of the scenes is going to be the trap rooms. And what interesting things would they find? Broken. I'm going to put some aspects here, some features here. So there's like broken props. Broken bladed props. We're going to have some converting humanoids. I think it'd be a good one. Is there what else would they find in the trap rooms here? Because, so we know they're going there because they said they're going there, right? The players said that's how they're going to enter it. So if they're going to enter through the trap rooms, I can spend a little more time to think about like what's going to be inside the trap rooms. And the funny thing, they're called the trap rooms because they're underneath trap doors. They're not actually trapped, right? There's like, bladed things. We could have like torture and execution devices, racks, wheels, splitters, charred iron posts. And we could decide if we want to drop any monsters into that room. So, and we have a scene, we have the confrontation with Din, and we have the helm of the treasure vault and helm of teleportation is one of the scenes. Is there, so given that there's lots of places they could go at that point, we could have, this is where we're going to kind of fill out different things, different specific pieces of the locations, but I think I had done some of that, right? So I've got these I've got this fantastic location set. I'm going to drop that into fantastic locations. This was like my list, but I don't need to put trap rooms on there because I know they're going in through the trap rooms. So this kind of saves me a little time actually like annotating the full map. I don't need to annotate the entire map room by room. Instead, I kind of know what they've got, but I want to make sure. So I have contestant hot tubs. I'm going to say like breeding, like alien fungus breeding pool, right? I think that's a fun one. Draconic bloodsport props we can pull out because I know that that's going to be in the other area. Pillars carved into heroes, tombs of heroes, ossuaries, artifact chambers, altars and shrines. We could have like, what is it called when like an insect, is it molting when an insect kicks off its shell? So Chul molting remnants would be fun. Like these areas are like, what the hell? They can find these like massive carapaces that have been molted off of things. And those are like from Chul. I love Chuls. Is there any other, we can kind of, let's see, we'll look at the map and say, is there any other kind of thing? So we got carved pools, we have like ossuaries and others. Like the northern half of this map is tombs and burial chambers. The southern half is like the trap rooms underneath. And I think we've got a pretty good feel for that sort of stuff. It's not a tremendously large dungeon, which is fine. Secrets and clues. So we're going to harvest some secrets and clues from last week's notes and ignore the ones we don't need. So Copper Vein is originally a goblinoid settlement. Dragon Empire destroyed it. We know that. Dragon Empire used the arena for bloodsport. We know that. During one of the fell rituals, meteor crashed down. We learned that. Soter have independent minds from their local ruler, Din, the Sand Aboleth. Native humanoids are turned into the thralls of Din. We know that. Some abolithic thralls are infested with insatiable broods who gestate in their bodies and then burst out. Some become satyr. Yeah, they learned that. Meteor crash, fungus grew. It spawned broods who gestated in humans and became satyr. I just repeated that. The followers of Din worship the father of the midnight sun, also known as the black goat or the whisper in the woods. Yeah, we'll keep that. Fae folk believe the black goat in the woods once have an elven goddess named Kana, was once an elven goddess named Bakana, we're going to just add who touched the void. Jedva Steelthorn, a wizard king of goblins, ruled over Coppervein half a millennia ago. It was he who loved the games and built the Colosseum to bring together the people of the region and avoid conflict. Jedva was loved by his people and interred beneath the Colosseum. It said that Jedva traveled across the lands and across worlds with his magical helmet gifted to him from long lost gods. So those are good. That gives us 5 of our 10 secrets. Which is right on par, right? When I talk about it, I talk about prepping 10 secrets and you generally give out 5. It seems that's exactly what happened. I gave out 5 of the secrets. So is there more information about Din? So what does Din want is a question. Din fears extinction. I was thinking about this the other day and fights this fear by spreading its brood across humanoids. I'm spreading his brood to humanoids. Din wants to infect large cities. So what I think like it would spread too quickly if like I'm trying to think of like what spreads the disease, right? And you don't want the disease spread too quickly. So you could have, we could go with alien, right? We still need to think about the ecology here. So a insatiable brood burrows into a humanoid. Is it fungus-based or Din implants it? So you could bring the humanoids to Din, right? Who implants the insatiable brood. So it doesn't spread like like an aerial-borne disease. Din needs to infect humanoids directly, which is the only reason the insatiable brood haven't spread. So maybe Din is also looking for a way to spread it even further, right? So Din, we could have these carriers Din has started to create carriers who can spread. So these carriers are like more powerful versions, and there's not that many of them. That way there's like a limit on it, because otherwise it like overtakes everything. Some insatiable brood grow massive in size, becoming Chul. I think that's pretty good. And that's 10 secrets. Does that work? Does that make sense? So how does the ecology work? So Din kind of came here having crashed down from a meteor and infected somebody, and one of the brood, sort of like a bee, one of the brood becomes, if there isn't a, and what do we want to call, is there a name for these? We can't keep going with sand aboleth. A prime. If there isn't a prime host, one of the insatiable brood becomes one, like Din, right? So essentially what you could have is the meteor crashes down. There's like a weird fungus that grows on everything. Some of these things infect people. One of them grows into a prime. We'll call them a prime sater. One of them becomes a prime sater host, and only they can infect local humanoids and infect them with brood. The brood then bursts out of the bodies of humanoids. They fly around. Many of them just die. Those can't further, maybe they can further infect humanoids, but they tend to die off pretty quickly, right? So so you could have that, right? So that could be a way. So instead of Din being required to infect them, that you have to get infected by a brood and survive, and the brood die quickly, right? Hey, is my mom here? I didn't see oh, there she is. Hi, Mom. My mom is here. My mom's in here right in time to hear me talk about disgusting gestation habits of alien horrors from the void. But she's not surprised. I'm pretty sure that, I was thinking about pretty much the same thing when I was like 12 years old. So yeah, so an insatiable brood burrows into somebody. Many of the times they die, right? And they I think one key is like it doesn't happen every time, right? A lot of time the insatiable brood just die off and nothing happens. And sometimes they might even burrow into a humanoid and the humanoids die off. But sometimes they stay. And if they stay, they expand. And if they really expand, they become, and the body is strong enough to handle it, they explode out and become even more of these things. And then some of those insatiable brood, just like frog tadpoles, grow arms and legs and gain a bit of intelligence and become sater, who are like humanoids. Some of them grow even bigger and become Chul. And then if there isn't one of them, just like a queen bee, I think this is true, right? Isn't there like a queen bee that, one of them will turn into a queen or something like that? I thought there's like an insect where it's like, if there isn't one happens. And it will become something like Din. And Din, and really their whole thing, and I'm stealing this, I can't remember the name of the book, but it had an alien, a plant-like alien, intelligent plant-like alien thing called Morning Light Mountain. And let's find out what that book that was. It was a pretty good book. The Commonwealth Saga was the name of it, by Peter F. Hamilton. Pandora's Star. Really good book. Hard read. Long read, but really good book. And in that one, they had a cool alien creature who was like overtaking the galaxy. And when they spoilers, when they tried to investigate why, it was like, because if I don't, I'll go extinct, right? It was like, if I don't grow, eventually I will go extinct. There's only two paths. There is either dying or growing. There is no normal state. And I think that could be kind of a fun angle on Din, that it grows because otherwise it will be destroyed, right? Like there's only two paths. So I think that's really good. So I got some fun secrets and clues there. Scene-wise, I'm just going to put a generic scene of exploring the trap rooms and the tomb of, and who's the name of the guy? Jedva. And we're going to bold Jedva, so I have that in there. So that works. NPC, I want to whip up one NPC, like a nice person NPC that they could run into while they're there. I'm going to use my lazy or 5e artisanal database and go to this is a feature for patrons of Sly Flourish. You get access to all these tools. Sophie Frostlover, infernal criminal with a scarred cheek. Interesting. Wide-eyed infernal criminal with a scarred cheek who dresses plainly and wants to return home at last. That fits. So I got an NPC that they could run into who can help explain more things that are going on here, and that works. And then treasure. We're going to roll some treasure. So we'll take a look at the treasure I rolled last time because I don't think they saw much of this and see what works well. Look at all this stuff. They did get the spell book. So I think they did get a lot of this stuff. I didn't do the Void Touch War Pick. I think they got a Pearl of Power. So they got a lot of this stuff. So actually I will roll up a new treasure parcel here. Again, another feature of the 5e artisanal database. And we're going to use the Tales of the Valiant treasure generator. We're going to say they're 5th to 10th level. Bang. They already got dancing lockpicks. It's pretty funny. So I will grab this, but I'm going to do some editing on it because we don't need it all. Oh, look, I still have a bug. Look at the bug where it's putting out different gemstone types. Fix that bug. I fixed it in my other generator. I wonder if, well, whatever. We'll worry about it later. I thought I fixed it. What else? Rope of Climbing would be fun. That is a common magic item. That's an uncommon magic item. It's funny. I wonder they call it a common item, but that would be a good one. Gloves of Swimming and Climbing. Those all seem pretty good. We're going to get rid of the spell scroll for charm because that's useless. So this looks like a good set of treasure. I feel pretty good about that. So now I have gone through my steps. I've got my characters. We talked about them. Strong start. I got my scenes. I got my secrets and clues. I got my locations, notable NPCs. I got monsters. Are there any... So monster-wise, I definitely want them to face some Chul. It probably cannot hurt that when they have the confrontation with Din. So Din is CR. This is where one of the things we'll look at is the lazy encounter benchmark. So we got 6 8th level characters. It says 8, 16, so that's 24 total CRs. 24 is the lazy encounter benchmark. We can, for funsies, we can use my encounter calculator here. So we have 6 characters. They are level 8. And monster-wise, we are going to do Aboleth from Black Flag. We are going to do, and then let's do some Chul. Chuls are great. Wow, the Chuls are lower CR. So according to this, let's try 4 of them. Let's see what that does. Whoa, that's potentially deadly because that's 26. And we said 24 is the limit. So that would be just over deadly. And if you're using the D&D 2024 side, it would be just high. That's close enough that I think we're going to do it. What's funny is I ran an encounter almost exactly like this. But we ought to take a look at the monster vault and just look at the Chul and make sure we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, right? This is why you do it. You're like, okay, 4 makes sense, but I'm looking at the benchmark and the benchmark tells me that is above deadly. Where is the Chul? There we go. Chuls are CR4, 80 hit. So 4 is not terrible. 80 hit points, AC 15, aberrant resilience. They can sense and pinpoint location of magic within it. It senses magic and see the creature and object. So if it's wearing magic, it can see it. So that's cool. You're going to have a hard time hiding from this thing because it can sense magic. That's kind of cool. 2 pincer attacks, +6 to hit, 17 damage. So that's 34 total damage. If the target is smaller, is grappled, does not restrain. Wild Reach. The Chul taps into ancient memories of magic and reaches towards nearby magic with an unpracticed grasp, releasing a burst of energy. Each creature within 15 feet of the Chul must make a DC 14 dex save, taking 21 damage on a failed save. That's interesting. It doesn't say what kind of damage. Or half as much damage as a successful one. That's a little error, right? This is probably force damage, maybe? Makes sense if it was force damage. If a magic item, spell effect, or spellcaster is within 30 feet of the Chul, the burst is pure arcane energy. Aha, there we go. They're dealing force damage. If no magic is within it, the burst pulls from the Chul's own life force, dealing necrotic damage. That's interesting. If the damage is necrotic, the Chul takes necrotic damage if it succeeds on the save. As if it succeeds on the save. Paralyzing Tentacles. One creature grappled by the Chul must succeed on a DC 14 con or be poisoned for 1 minute. Until the poison ends, the creature is paralyzed. A poisoned creature can repeat the save. Ooh, that's scary. 4 of those guys. They're tough though. They can hack it. So I think the 4 Chuls, I think that's going to work. They are on page 70. Is there any terrainy sort of things that we want to do here? I think we could have like swirling sands, right? Because it's like a sand aboleth. I think that it can make the area around it So what could be like a fun effect? So it could be difficult terrain, so it's a little harder to reach the thing. Does it mostly need to reach? It could do a psychic thing, and we can make its tentacle attack. We can make it a real dick and have it. It's got psychic bolts too, so it's got plenty of range attacks. So shifting sands, and if you don't move, you are restrained. I'm thinking like, so how would this work? You want to make it like you have to move around on this thing. Right? If you don't move around, you will get slowly sucked into the sand. It could do the liquefaction causing restraint. Yeah. But the problem is if you restrain them, they can't move and then they're automatically hit. So that's not great. So the idea that they can only move at the beginning of their turn. What is a way? I mean, you could just have restraining stand, which essentially says if you end your turn there, you are restrained until the beginning of your next turn. It means you're only restrained between turns, and then you have to kind of like pull yourself free, to not be restrained. And the only way to get out of it is to get out of the shifting sand door. And maybe it's only like 15 feet around the thing. Maybe it's only if you're next to it. It's a lot. It means that like it's going to have advantage on attacks against you, essentially. If you end your turn next to it, it has advantage on attacks. That's pretty rough. But are there ways to kind of deal with it? Maybe you have to make a check. So what if, when you end your turn next to it, you have to make a strength, we could do strength or dex save. Let's do strength save, right? No, we don't do strength saves enough. When you end your save within 15 feet of Din, you must make a DC 15 strength save, or you're restrained until the beginning of your next turn. So you can get out of it, that way it's not really eating up an action. I think that's fine, right? You don't want it to be too annoying. So I think that's good. So now we know what that final battle looks like. And then the rest of it we can kind of, fill in as we go. So this feels really good. I feel good, right? The end result, which is always a thing, like what are we doing this for? So we're doing our prep so we feel good about the game we're going to run. If you feel good about the game you're going to run, you're probably going to be fine. I think it's probably rare. I'd be very curious. This is like a thing I should ask GMs. That have you ever, how often have you felt good going into a game and then the game went worse than you thought because of the prep you didn't do? It's not a fantastic question. But the idea is like, how often have you felt good about your prep and then gone into the game and then the prep failed you, right? I think that's probably rare. I mean, I think like you could have done the wrong prep. I certainly think there are lots of GMs who do the wrong prep, mostly in that I thought they were going to do X and they ended up doing Y. So maybe that's not a really great question because, I think there's lots of times where you could prep the wrong thing. And I've certainly done that where it's like, oh, I wish I'd spent more time thinking about X and then I didn't do it. I had that happen in a couple of games. So recently. So maybe that's not a totally fair question. So, but I'm going to export to PDF because I think this one is ready to go. I feel good about this one, but mostly we're doing it because we want to feel good. That looks great. My notes look good. I feel happy and ready to go. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while we prepared for my game. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did and you want more stuff like this, the best way to get it is to subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. There is a link down in the show notes. You get a free adventure generator with a miniature version of 5e built into it that you can run with your friends, and you get a weekly RPG related article sent directly to your inbox every week. You can also support me directly on Patreon. Patrons get access to things like the 5e artisanal database, a whole bunch of scenarios. They get access to our awesome Discord community, and they help me put on shows like this. And you can pick up any of my books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, The Lazy DM's Companion, City of Arches, Forge of Foes, and more at the Sly Flourish bookstore. Links for all of that are in the show notes. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.